Hey guys, it's Bridget with Sandy Seed Company, and I'm in the garden. It's January. We are talking about seed starting, and this is a seed starting video part 2. If you haven't watched part 1, stop right now and go watch it so that you can understand some of the more advanced concepts that I'm going to talk about in this part 2 video. All right, so if you're the gardener that goes and buys a bunch of seeds and you start them and you see the little green little thing germinate and you're so excited, but then they die right after, this video is for you, because in part 1 I talked about some of the basic steps to get your seeds to germinate, and in this video I'm going to talk about a little more advanced things and some of the things that can go wrong in your seed starting and how you can be successful. All right, so if you watch this whole video, you're going to know a lot more than you knew before about seed starting, and make sure you watch part 1 as well to really fully encompass everything that you need to know. The other part about this is I'm going to be doing a seed starting giveaway. So I'm going to give away all of our core products that you need to be a really successful, great gardener. And spoiler alert, it's not just product, it's also access to some of our online education so that you can really learn how to be a good seed starter and make your garden bursting with plants and flowers. All right, so this is seed starting part 2, but I want to recap part 1 really quickly so that if you were lazy and you didn't listen to me and you didn't go watch that video, you know these are the things that we talked about. We talked about seed starting mix and why it's so important. We talked about bottom watering trays and why that's so important, pre-moistening your seed starting soil, and heating mat. So with all of those tips, you've likely gotten to the point where you have some of your plants germinating. Like for example, this tray here where we have seeds that are popping up, little babies like that. You're likely at that stage. This is where a lot of things can go wrong, and so here's some of the core things I want you to remember and think about. At this stage, one of the most common questions I get from new gardeners is how much do I water and when? Well, that's a very personalized answer depending on your setup. Are you in a greenhouse? What soil are you using? Are you using bottom watering trays? There's a lot of things that can influence how I answer that. But let's say you're using a bottom watering tray, because I told you to. You're using high quality seed starting mix, because I told you to. You're likely not going to have to water as often as if you are planting maybe in poor soil in the garden, or if you are outside a greenhouse where wind and hot air can actually extract a lot of moisture out of the seed starting mix. Now, you always want to check. Don't just assume by looking at something that it needs water. The way in which you would do it in a commercial greenhouse and the way in which I instruct my students is you want to do the lift test. So you need to lift it up. Now I know it's on video, so you can't tell what that feels like, but it's heavy. It's heavy because I can tell that there's moisture all the way through there. It's holding on to water, so obviously it's gonna weigh more. So that's the first thing that I do, is I actually check and see. The other thing that you wanna do is take your finger and put it just in the corner. Now, I don't do that anymore because I've been doing this long enough, but when you're in the beginning stages of seed starting, you might need to actually get down in there with trying not to disturb your plants and see, is there moisture all the way through? That's really important. Now, the other way in which you can tell is just do a quick saturation test. And what is that? Basically, put water in your tray and leave it there for an hour or two and see how much water is soaked up by these inserts. If you come back in an hour or two and no water has been sucked up, and you pick this up and it's heavy and water is just kind of flowing out the bottom, it's likely wet enough. These tiny little starts have to stay moist the whole time they're growing. If they dry out at any point, they're going to shrivel up and die. So watering a little bit more than less is usually the key in zone 9 and 10. But here's a way in which you know you're watering too much. If you see green algae on top of your soil, which I don't know if I have any here to show you, that's typically a sign that it's too much moisture. So maybe that'll work. See that? Oh, and then you see this little guy buzzing around? That is a soil gnat. That's another indicator that I'm watering too much. So I'm going to want to pull back, because this is a really good environment for dampening off and fungal issues that can kill my starts. Now, I've done, I don't know, 50 to 100 seed starting classes in person, and so I know the same questions that I get asked. People always ask, how many seeds per cell do you plant? Well, there's not a blanket answer, but more or less for each one of these cells, you really don't want a lot of plants growing in them. but it does depend on the type of plant. So I always tell people, ask yourself, what are you going to use in the end? What is your goal? So for example, like a tomato plant, you want one tomato plant. You don't want a gaggle of 10 tomato plants that you have to thin. So I only want to put one seed per cell, max 2. And this is a pro tip, you put 1 in each corner so that you could break it up and transplant it into 2 separate cells. Overcrowded cells will never produce happy plants. Now, the one exception to the rule would be crops that grow in bunches. Like you don't eat one little stalk of cilantro. You're not like, yummy. I guess maybe like, you know, what, a little microgreen or something, but you eat a bunch of cilantro or loose leaf lettuce. You can plant many seeds per cell because you're going to eat it in a bunch. But generally speaking, for most warm season crops, so that's tomatoes, that's peppers, that's eggplants, squash, melons, you only want 1 per cell because an overcrowded cell will never produce a happy plant. Okay, the next thing that is key is airflow. Now you'll see I have a bunch of box fans. I've got fans all over. And if you've watched our greenhouse video, I will go into crazy amounts of complaining about how people don't understand airflow. I'm going to sum it up for you. Basically, regardless of whether you're in a greenhouse, outside or inside in your garage, anywhere you're starting, seed starting, you have to have airflow. And there's many reasons why. One, if you have stagnant air, it's a great environment to breed diseases and pests like soil gnats and flies. Dampening off really thrives in stagnant air. The other thing is these plants need to be exercised. They need to move. And so I actually run these box fans across these plants because when they move, it's just like us. You know, we go do our jazzercise or whatever, we get a little exercise in. These plants need to move as well so that they can build up more turgidity in their cell walls and be stronger, better plants when you go to plant them out. Now, you can do it many different ways. A box fan. Cheap, easy, simple. You don't want the fan to be so high that it's blowing off soil or that it's sucking out moisture too quickly, but you do need to see your plants move. Even if they're just moving a little bit, it's going to make a very big difference in the health of your all of your seed starting area and the plants in it. Okay, let's do a couple of quick little troubleshootings for you if you're having issues in your seed starting area. So remember that the table that you do your seed starting on, if you're using bottom watering trays, has to be level. If it is not, the water will flow from one side to another and you'll get moist packs, 6 packs down here, dry ones here. I know it can be hard to have a completely level one, so what you can do also is cheat and turn your trays every couple of days. You'll notice that this table was level when we built it, but it's starting to sag a little bit, and so I have to pay attention to that. The other thing that you want to watch out for is too much water. So make sure if you're getting green, that's probably an indicator that you need to pull off your watering, the amount and the frequency that you're watering. You can actually see I lost a plant right there to this particular 3-pack being way too moist. A way in which I can kind of help dry that out is you can just take some dry seed starting mix and add it on top, and that's going to help suck away some of the moisture around the plant to ensure that I keep some of the fungal pathogens from growing up the plant. It helps dry it out quicker. I can also run a fan. That's also very helpful. The next thing that you need to look for when your troubleshooting starts is legginess. So I don't have a fabulous example. These all look pretty happy and healthy, but that's because I'm starting seeds outdoors. I'm not starting them indoors under grow lights. If you start to see that your plants look really long, and luckily we live in a day and age where you can just Google leggy tomato plants, and then you can compare that to your plants and see if are they getting leggy. That's an indicator that your grow light needs to be closer to the plant because they're reaching for sunlight. I would say, you know, maybe this guy's looking slightly more leggy, but it's still pretty healthy. The reason why I mention this is you can't undo legginess. It's very difficult to get the plant back down into an appropriate size once it's stretched so far and so long, and it's really not a healthy start for the garden. So if you want to enter to win this amazing giveaway, make sure you comment on this video, because we're going to pick one lucky commenter to win. Now there's a little bit more than just that. You got to comment, subscribe to the channel so you're notified when we put out any great videos like this video, and lastly, you got to sign up for our newsletter. The reason why is, well, there's many different reasons. One, we're going to announce the winner in our newsletter. So if you're not signed up and you happen to be a winner, you're not going to know. The other part of it is it's a really amazing free educational resource for gardeners in zone 9 and 10 that can help you grow the best garden yet. So if you're watching this video, it's probably because you are, trying to learn important steps in your garden to make your garden really productive, and the newsletter will help make that happen, and it's free. All right, recap of what you're going to win if you enter and win our giveaway. We've got seed starting mix, vermiculite, which you'll learn in our free Seed Starting Academy, which you will be enrolled in, how to use that. Our Zone 9 and 10 gardening calendar, 20 warm season seeds that you can grow in your garden, Great Big Tomatoes, Compost Tea, Sluggo Plus, another product you're going to learn how to use in the online education you're going to be enrolled in, our watering wand, and last but not least, a 12-month admission to our Growing Together membership program, which is the best way in which I can hold your hand and really make you an amazing gardener by giving you 12 months of education. It's a $180 value, and you're going to be enrolled for free if you win this giveaway. So if you haven't done it yet, comment on this video and sign up for the newsletter so you can see your name announced when you're the winner.